Imagine standing on a battlefield in October 1781. The very ground trembles. The air, thick with acrid gunpowder smoke, burns in your nostrils. Around you, thousands of soldiers stand in grim formation. But something is unfolding here, something the British, masters of the known world, utterly failed to foresee. This is the story of the secret weapon that shattered the Redcoats at Yorktown. Most people know Yorktown as the grand finale of the American Revolution, but few truly grasp why the British, then the most formidable military power on earth, suffered such a complete and devastating defeat. It wasn't just superior strategy or raw courage. It was a specific force, an unexpected, overwhelming power that caught the British Army completely by surprise. To understand Yorktown's hidden truth, we must first rewind. By 1781, the American War of Independence had dragged on for 6 agonizing years. A nascent collection of colonists dared to challenge the British Empire, the undisputed global superpower. It was David versus Goliath. The British Army was feared across continents, its iconic redcoats considered virtually invincible. The Americans, by contrast, were a ragtag collection of militiamen, farmers, merchants, artisans. In the early years, defeat after brutal defeat haunted them. But then, in 1778, everything changed. France, still smarting from its humiliating defeat to Britain, made a fateful decision. It would formally enter the conflict on the American side. Yes, France sent soldiers and supplies. But the true secret weapon they brought was something far more powerful, far more impactful, and utterly devastating to the British. Fast forward to the sweltering summer of 1781. General Charles Cornwallis, commander of British forces in the South, established a naval base at the unassuming port town of Yorktown. He commanded 7,500 seasoned soldiers and was convinced he could withstand any American assault. After all, the mighty British Navy could easily resupply or evacuate his troops by sea. But Cornwallis didn't know the most crucial detail. George Washington and the French commander, Rochambeau, were meticulously orchestrating something extraordinary. Intelligence arrived that a colossal French naval fleet was sailing for America, commanded by Admiral De Grasse. His fleet was immense, 28 ships of the line, the largest, most powerful warships of the era. And De Grasse was sailing directly for the Chesapeake Bay, precisely where Cornwallis was fortifying himself. This was the secret weapon, not a newfangled gadget, but overwhelming naval power on a scale the British never expected to face in the Americas. It was the ability to dominate the sea, to completely sever Cornwallis's lifeline, and transform Yorktown from a fortress into an inescapable death trap. But for this plan to succeed, Washington had to move his entire army over 400 miles from New York to Virginia without the British realizing his true intentions. Washington proved a master of deception. He elaborately fooled the British into believing he was preparing a massive assault on New York itself. Meanwhile, under this cloak of misdirection, his troops were moving south. By the time the British realized Washington's monumental deception, it was far too late. Admiral De Grasse's fleet had already reached the Chesapeake Bay, slamming the gates shut. On September 5th, a British relief fleet arrived, expecting an easy resupply. Instead, they found De Grasse's larger, perfectly positioned French fleet. The ensuing Battle of the Virginia Capes was a strategic triumph. The French maintained their chokehold on the bay, and the damaged British fleet limped back to New York. Cornwallis was completely isolated. But the secret weapon had another component: French engineers and, more crucially, French artillery. France possessed the finest cannons in Europe, and they brought this unparalleled expertise directly to Yorktown. On October 9th, the Allied guns were ready. Washington himself fired the first shot. Then, all hell broke loose. Over 50 Allied cannons and mortars unleashed a devastating, synchronized barrage. French gunners demonstrated their unparalleled skill, and British fortifications began to crumble. After days of relentless bombardment, the Allies took 2 critical British redoubts in a swift and brutal night assault led by Alexander Hamilton and French troops. With Allied guns now even closer, Cornwallis's main fortifications became completely untenable. A final, desperate evacuation attempt on October 16th was thwarted by a violent storm. His last hope dissolved into the tempest. His fortifications lay in ruins. His men were exhausted, sick, and demoralized. On the morning of October 17th, a British drummer beat the call to parley. On October 19th, the formal surrender unfolded. The British band, with bitter irony, played a tune titled "The World Turned Upside Down." And indeed it had. When news reached London, British Prime Minister Lord North reportedly exclaimed, "Oh God, it's all over." The secret weapon was the devastating synergy of French naval power and French artillery, coordinated flawlessly with American determination. Yorktown proved that freedom, when championed by determined people and powerful allies, was a force more potent than any empire. The soldiers at Yorktown gave thanks for the wisdom granted to leaders and for his invisible hand, shaping history for freedom.